Today we're here to talk to you about Philip Morris International's controversial Be Marlboro campaign that has been launched in at least 50 countries since 2012 and try to analyze its ethical implications based on what we have learned in this class so far. Our presentation is divided into 4 parts. Firstly, I will talk about the facts of this case while summarizing the scenario at the same time. Then Anna Maria will look at the potential ethical communications issues or dilemmas of the case. Next, Keisha will evaluate the case based on the ethical theories we have learned. And finally, Jessica will come up with some recommendations and decisions in this area. As you all may know, Philip Morris International has come under fire for its Marlboro cigarette advertising campaign, Be Marlboro. A coalition of anti-tobacco organizations has released a report detailing how the campaign, which has spread to 50 countries, uses images and themes which appeal to young people. The report, entitled You Are the Target, claims that the marketing campaign links smoking Marlboro with risk-taking, rebellion and exploration, all themes which critics argue appeal to young viewers. The message "Don't be a maybe, be Marlboro" is shown along with pictures of young people partying, playing music, falling in love, and snowboarding or surfing. The campaign was banned in different markets, including Brazil, Colombia, Switzerland, and Germany, due to its lack of adherence to local norms associated with the prohibition of advertising tobacco brands to young viewers. This fact proves that even though critics may be subjective and tied to specific culture, the campaign is perceived by various markets and cultures to be associated with the promotion of cigarettes to a group of people that is not in the legal age range for smoking. Furthermore, 7 anti-tobacco organizations accused Philip Morris for trying to recruit a new generation of youngsters, many of whom risk becoming hooked on tobacco for life. Due to the media coverage of the criticism that the campaign received, Philip Morris International deleted the evidence of the campaign's visuals from their websites and systems. This action shows that the company realized that the campaign was indeed inappropriate. From an ethical point of view, Philip Morris International violated their own ethical code, which reads as "Our marketing complies with all applicable laws and regulations, and we have robust internal policies and procedures in place so that all our marketing and advertising activities are directed only toward adult smokers." 3 of the main values Philip Morris International stresses in their compliance and integrity program are trust, collaboration, and integrity. By creating programs that encourage the youth to rely on cigarettes to feel like they are decision makers and they are strong enough to stop saying maybe, the trust is broken between the consumer and the company because they are manipulating the emotions of their audience and the trust the consumer had with them to do good and abide by the ethical laws and standards they themselves created. Furthermore, they have threatened their standard for collaboration by not abiding by local and state laws and defying them through legal battles. Lastly, they have severely violated their tenet of integrity by failing to be honest and transparent with their audience and showcasing the harmful and life-threatening symptoms cigarettes can have on the youth. 2 facts that should not go unnoticed and need our attention are that Marlboro sponsors concessions to schools to sell cigarettes and that the company's global market share increased after the Be Marlboro campaign. Now, I will hand over to Anna Maria, who will look at the potential ethical communications issues or dilemmas of the case.
Thank you, Dimitris. A big part of the controversy behind the Marlboro campaign was the use of images with scenes that represent what could be claimed to be universal desires of teenagers from across the globe, as well as copies that suggest somehow indirect peer pressure by making smoking a decision that only cool guys and confident girls and guys would make. This campaign capitalizes on these insights about the desires from young teenagers, including their search for identity and, in most cases, their identity crisis tied to this age range, to introduce the habit of smoking and of being Marlboro, like having that identity as they call it. The thing is that they are not transparent about the health risks that smoking can bring to their lives. From a consumer psychology perspective, it can be said that this strategy from Philip Morris International seeks to make teenagers perceive the brand as one that really understands what they are going through and that offers them what we could say like a fast pass to experience falling in love, being involved in adventures, and other life scenarios that this group might find very much attractive. While Philip Morris International claimed that actually their campaign was targeted only to adult consumers, first of all, the fact that the models in their advertisements were teenagers, as well as the fact that they placed these advertisements in highly trafficked spots for teenagers, including, for example, the surroundings of academic institutions and also in clubs, made a lot more evident that their target audience for this campaign were indeed teenagers. It is common to see other brands making use of these insights to attract young consumers. For example, in the food industry, I can think of chocolate brands, bubblegum brands. However, in the case of this specific product, like the cigarettes and the smoking, makes it a lot more unethical and a lot more controversial. Also, because it's well known that habits that we start doing when we're young adults sometimes stick with us for the rest of our lives. So this makes this campaign a lot more controversial. As it really convinces teenagers of considering smoking, and this habit can stick for them for the rest with them for the rest of their lives, threatening of course their health in the long term. Thank you so much. And now Keisha will present some ethical theories that are applicable to this issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna Maria. My name is Keisha Jones, and I will be analyzing some applicable ethical theories that we feel Philip Morris International defies. As you've already heard, there are several ethical dilemmas that were a result of the Be Marlboro campaign. Some theories that are in question are utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. In order to analyze what happened through a utilitarian perspective, it is important to focus on the actual outcome of the Be Marlboro campaign rather than Philip Morris's motives behind it. Utilitarianism states that something is moral or good when it produces the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. In effect, the counterproductive nature of the campaign would mean it is ultimately unethical through a consequentialist lens. Marlboro is the most popular brand among kids with 60% of the underage market. Research suggests that roughly 2,000 kids become regular Marlboro smokers every day, with more than 600 of them likely to die prematurely because of their smoking. With these consequences, health implications, and risks associated with smoking cigarettes, are you really doing the greatest good for the greatest number of people? No, especially when that group includes minors. The next theory we'll be taking a look at is deontology. According to Immanuel Kant, he states that deontology is to act in the morally right way. People must act from duty. People should be motivated by goodwill in their actions and be rational in their decisions. They should inform the people they are interacting with, and they, as in Philip Morris, and allow them to make rational decisions. Therefore, you should not deceive or take advantage of vulnerable people. They are not fully informing their customers of the risks associated with smoking, only appealing to the cool factor. Teenagers are vulnerable and do not make rational decisions, and as you can see, they're buying it. It is the duty of Marlboro, per their ethical codes, to not create ads that target the youth. In essence, they did not follow the duty to do good. If they would have taken a deontological approach, then they would have not completed this campaign, as it violated the duty set up by their own code. In addition, an internal Philip Morris document from 1992 states that the ability to attract new smokers and develop them into a young adult franchise is key to brand development. Based on this information, it is quite clear that Philip Morris used this campaign for its own personal gain: egoism. In order to truly analyze the morality behind the campaign, we also needed to analyze a third major approach to normative ethics: virtue ethics. This perspective emphasizes the role of character and virtue in moral philosophy rather than either doing one's duty or acting in order to bring out good consequences. The virtue ethics is theory is based on courage, honesty, temperaments, and justice or fairness. In order for a business to be ethical, they must meet these virtues. Philip Morris has been through many hearings, especially in the United States, regarding children advertising. They have seen all the research and still turn a blind eye to the facts. They are not honest with their audience, nor do they provide warnings or the results of smoking. Philip Morris International provides a false image of how cigarettes can improve a teenager's life. For the virtue of temperance, a business must have reasonable expectations and desires. Marlboro has unfair and unreasonable expectations because they intentionally advertise harmful products to the youth. In all, there are so many different ways to judge a tobacco company in terms of ethics, as their sole purpose as a company is already considered unethical. Some may argue that their intentions were ethical when looking at these theories. However, we believe that the campaign is unethical and an irresponsible practice as it violates values related to avoiding advertising to vulnerable groups, in this case, children and teenagers. It is clear that the campaign was actually counterproductive and only implemented in an effort to increase growth and brand development without the well-being of the customer in mind. With that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Jessica, who will provide our board decisions and recommendations based on what we have discovered. Thank you.
Hi Keisha, thank you so much for the introduction. Before going over the recommendations, we decided as a team it was important to show you guys what are individual personal ethics and how they played a part into our decision-making process. We decided to look at it through a virtue-based theory and came up with 4 main virtues. The first one, which is honesty. And honesty for us meant saying the truth no matter the repercussions or outcome and disclosing all information. It was also important to define what it means to be dishonest, and that is to withhold information, lie, and manipulate the truth. The second virtue is integrity. Integrity for us meant building good character and having individuals or companies accept their personal responsibilities while balancing the needs of the business as well as the consumers. The third virtue established is respect. With respect, you can have clients and consumers understand one another, hear each other out, even though they may be opposing views, in order to form a compromise and be able to move forward and create an ethical decision that respects the other stakeholders. The last virtue we looked at was trust. We thought trust really bound all of these virtues together because through trust in someone, you have faith in them and you believe that they will be honest, respectful, and committed to you. Next, we will talk about the recommendations and whether we thought Marlboro had an unethical campaign. As being part of the International Ethical Board for a Tobacco-Free Society, we decided that Marlboro's campaign was completely unethical based on 4 points. The first one was that they marketed to children. They used emotional manipulation because, like my peers explained, they showcase scenarios that are highly attractive to children, as well as showed actors that were clearly young adults. Like John Douglas Bishop explains, we often buy products based not on what they are, but what they mean to us. Marlboro did just this. They created an association with being Marlboro, being a risk taker, making that decision and asking that girl out, with being Marlboro and thus smoking a cigarette. So next time a child, a young adolescent, may want to take that risk and make that decision, what are they going to think of? Being Marlboro and thus smoking a cigarette. This company also used self-image and self-identity. They use models in parties that clearly appeared to be cool and are marketing this to children, so they want to be this cool and confident actors that are being portrayed. And what do they need to be and be doing that? Have Marlboro be a cigarette. The second point we identified was their lack of transparency and dishonesty. In none of their billboards, commercials, or print ads did they write out or visually put what side effects cigarettes and smoking causes or any of the life-threatening diseases associated with this. Like Samuel B. Brun explains, this is deceptive advertising because you're omitting crucial facts about what your product is for or what it is used for. The third point was because they marketed to disadvantaged groups. By marketing to third world countries and regions where their populations may not be as well educated on versed on the side effects and horrible aspects that come with smoking, what they're basically doing is preying on this vulnerable population and cluttering their culture with ads. They are also using key areas like schools where kids may not be as aware that they're being advertised to and putting Marlboro and cigarettes in this campaign. We believe this is completely unethical. And the fourth point was because they violated country's laws. For example, in Colombia, there is clear laws to not advertise to children. Marlboro went above this and still did just that and marketed to children. Now, for some recommendations we had for Marlboro, if they decided to do this campaign again, was clearly not market to children, but instead market to adults. Some of the ideas we had if they are to market to adults is showcase scenarios that are more geared to adults, such as a work scene, retirement, anything not related to parties or schools or something that would be attractive to children. They should also use models and actors that clearly are adults. They should also distribute all of these advertising on channels that are only going to be geared towards adults. So not placing billboards near school or near park, using TV channels where the target audience are clearly adults, and making sure that anything they do is not near an area where kids would be likely to go or attend to. The second thing we identified as a recommendation was increasing their transparency. They should clearly state in every ad, whether it be print or visual, the side effects that come along with smoking. We highly recommend that in areas of third world countries they include visuals because the population may not be as literate or educated, but visually seeing a decaying lung would be more shocking and would make the person realize of what they're about to take part in. And lastly, we believe that they should increase their educational guidance. For making this unethical campaign, repercussions should be that they should increase their education in third world countries of why smoking is bad. They should be overseen also by the World Health Organization to make sure that their actions are complacent with their laws. And we believe that they should also donate and make charitable acts towards associations geared towards stopping kids from smoking, such as those in Indonesia, which is the most highly country where smoking for kids is found. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope you liked our case study on Marlboro and why the Be Marlboro campaign was unethical. Thank you.